Like the main profile inside most of our patients is obesity.
Time is muscle. The longer you wait, the worse it gets.
Unfortunately, when we're dealing with heart and blood vessels, there are no spare parts.
Doctors Hospital's reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. Your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new, modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnosis and true personalized treatment begin. With locations in Freeport and 8 Mile Rock, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshos.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doctors Hospital podcast. My name is Eddie Russell, the supervisor within the GLOW department, which is our hospital's wellness solution. And welcome. This is our first podcast for the year, Gali. And with it being our first podcast for the year, we want to get to the heart. So we're focusing today on Heart Month. Heart Month is about 15 or so, 20 days away. But we wanted to get a good start on it very, very early. And so we have these gentlemen who are here to talk to us about the heart cath lab, which has been really refitted. It's been around for a while, but it's been refitted. But we're going to talk about the heart. And we're going to get to the base and the crux of heart health and why it's so important. So to my right, I have Dr. Ran Eliaz. He's a physician and the interventional cardiologist. We also have Antoine Roberts, who is our perfusionist in the cath lab. I do not know what that is, so I'm happy to have you on the show.
Explain.
I'm so happy to have you on the show. And then we have Renaldo Clarke, who is our ECG manager here at Doctors Hospital. So the question I have, and I think we should probably go back to basics, not just about the heart, but I want to talk about what do you do at Doctors Hospital? I think that's always like the question. Because I know that we have people who listening to the show, we have students listening to the show, we have the public listening to the show. And we want to make sure that the health issues that we bring to our public, we want to show people how Doctors Hospital addresses these things. So what do you do as an interventional cardiologist?
That's an excellent question. First of all, I'm a cardiologist above all, and second of all, I have learned the expertise of doing interventions on the heart. So if we had to speak generally about what the heart is and what the heart does, it's probably the center of everything. The heart is that same pump that allows the body to receive oxygen by means of blood flow.
Right.
And any problem that has to do with the heart, and by problems that could be rhythm problems of the heart, could be heart dysfunction, because the heart is a muscle. And in that umbrella term, we do have heart attacks, we do have heart failure, which is failure of that muscle to contract properly. So everything that has to do with that, these are things that we at Doctors Hospital and me personally have the expertise to diagnose and treat. And the treatments are diverse, obviously. There are many ways to treat a failing heart. And we try to optimize those treatments based on the condition that we are seeing in the patient.
All right. To you,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
What do I do?
What do you do? I heard you earlier joked about being the lead and then the assistant and then the only.
Yes. So I am by profession a cardiovascular perfusionist. What that means is I run the heart-lung machine during open heart surgery. That's mostly involved from the perspective we're approaching it after a patient is diagnosed with severe heart disease. There's a few ways that it can be fixed. We will discuss the others shortly. But when you have too many blockages in the heart, you need open heart surgery. So a cardiovascular surgeon has to bypass the vessels of the heart. And my job is to keep the patient alive while the patient is on what we call bypass. The heart, the problem with the heart and the lungs is that when you open somebody's chest, the heart is beating and the lungs are moving. So it's kind of hard to operate.
Right.
So the anesthesiologist has to give muscle relaxants to stop the lungs. We give potassium to stop the heart. And now the surgeon can operate on a field that's not moving. So my job is to keep the patient alive and perfuse the body while they do their surgery. I'm also involved in treating heart disease from a cardiology standpoint, in that I would be Dr. Rand's assistant
Okay.
during an angiogram or angioplasty after a patient has a heart attack and they need 1 or 2 vessels fixed. We can do that at the same time. So open heart surgery, I am a perfusionist. In the cath lab, I'm a cardiovascular technologist.
So how's your heart? Because we need to keep you around.
Yeah, well,
let me take care of that.
So we should see you.
I think I have a heart, but yeah, I think I'm pretty healthy. You know, we're all a little older now. I've been doing this for 30 years, so I try to keep as healthy as possible.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Been in doctor's hospital for 30 years.
Happy to have you. Please stick around. Ronaldo, tell us what you do.
Yes, so Renaldo, at Doctor's Hospital, I'm the ECG manager, so I function more on the processes. So dealing with the heart, like Dr. Ram was saying earlier, is very critical. So it's very critical that we have everything in place that is needed in order to give the patient the most optimal care that they can receive.
Right.
Whether that's scheduling, whether that's just being somebody to talk to. Because the whole process is a very complicated process. Just to walk through somebody through the whole process, what they're going to expect, what is going to be the outcome, that will be my position, that will be my job. So I just make sure that these guys have everything that they need to give the patient the best optimal care that they can.
In terms of who sees whom first, would it be you, then you two together?
Yes. So so I will handle the scheduling part,
Yeah.
and then we'll get them off to Dr. Ran, who would then see that patient, and then he will direct the care of that patient, whether it'll be ECG, echocardiograms, Holter monitors, all other different tests, or we need to go straight to the cath lab and we need to open up those vessels in the heart.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You should differentiate between what we call elective patients or non-urgent cases and urgent cases that obviously need medical attention right away. And we have these two gentlemen here that give us both aspects of the field. Yeah.
So we're happy to have all of you at Doctor's Hospital. So we often take for granted the function of our organs, right?
Right.
And it's not on purpose, because if you know me and you've been following the podcast, I always talk about self-care and how we just aren't taught how to take care of ourselves, right? So let's take a minute and go back to like biology class, which was one of my favorite topics in high school.
Mine too.
What does it? Thank you. What does the heart do, and why does having a healthy heart matter so much?
All right. So reverse. Heart is a unique organ. And I'm not saying it just because I'm a cardiologist. Obviously, the heart is autonomous. It's self-sustained. It self-functions. It's quite an amazing organ if you look at it. It's a muscle. In terms of simplicity, it's a type of a muscle. And if we open the heart up, it has chambers in it. There are ventricles, the lower chambers. There's atriums, the upper chambers. Divided between these chambers are dividing them are valves that allow blood flow in one direction, prevent it from flowing in the other direction. And basically, the heart is set up as a pump where the right side of the heart receives blood from the body organs, blood which is not rich in oxygen because the cells have utilized it. And that blood is being pumped into the lungs through this big artery here called the pulmonary artery for reoxygenation. And after the blood has reoxygenated, means it has fresh oxygen in it, it flows back into the left side of the heart. And the left side of the heart pumps this blood into the body organs. And this is what the heart does. I can't call it a simple manner, but it does it in a fairly simple manner by receiving blood and pumping blood into the Now, because the heart is a muscle and it has to function obviously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it can't really rest, hopefully.
Right.
Then it has to have, it needs to be self-contained. It has its own electrical system, which stimulates the muscle to contract, and it has its own blood supply because the muscle generates a lot of force and generates a lot of activity. It needs a lot of oxygen. It consumes a lot of oxygen. So there are arteries that supply the heart itself. The heart does not only supply blood to the organs, it also has its own blood supply. And those are called the coronary arteries, the same arteries that are blocked when there's a heart attack. So you can imagine that such a stressful environment for an organ, such a constant, being in constant demand, obviously leads to a lot of wear and tear. And then in the heart, we see a lot of these, what I call sometimes fatigue, and a lot of different abnormalities that might arise from that over functioning or from not maintaining the heart properly. Just as an example, I mentioned the coronary arteries that might become blocked, for example, because of high cholesterol or very bad lifestyle. And if these are blocked and the blood supply to the heart is reduced, then we start having problems. We start having chest pain. We start having heart attacks. We start having what we call, in a general term, heart failure, which is anything that has to do with any reduction, any difficulty of the heart to perform its main priority, which is pumping blood to our organs.
Y'all got that?
That's a mouthful.
So, and how do you, I guess this is a question that we'll probably touch on later, but how do you simply keep the heart healthy?
So that's probably the $1 million question.
Yeah.
And there's no $1 million answer, unfortunately. I mean, it has to do with a lot of factors. Now, it has to do with choices that we make throughout the day. It has to do with what we are born with, our genetic traits, which are very different. It has to do with even our social economic status, what access we have to healthcare, what access we have to proper food hygiene, proper very basic facts, as you mentioned, just knowing how our organs function and work and what we can do to help them perform better. So, and that's why it's very diverse. And not surprisingly, we see that the distribution of heart disease is, I call it unfair, because, in some places where the access to healthcare is very low,
Right.
or the healthcare has limited resources to provide, unfortunately, we see higher percentages and higher degree of heart disease and heart failure. And the trend is quite alarming, because we see it happening in a more and more younger ages, and women who once were regarded to be kind of protected from early onset of heart disease. Today, this is not the case. So if we want to really speak about heart health, we need to speak on a healthcare system as a whole, because heart is just one part of it. But I think most of us are well aware of the factors that keep our heart healthy. It's just we don't know specifically what to do. We don't have the guidance, and that's why we here are to support that.
It seems like heart health seems to be one of those, as you eloquently put it, one of those that $1 million question, and how we're actually meant to do it, right? And I'm looking at the 2003 Caribbean Public Health Agency. They released findings, and they were a little alarming. They said hypertension and blood pressure, and high blood pressure is the number one risk factor for illness and premature death from cardiovascular disease, one of the most common non-communicable diseases in the Caribbean. And so, what is it about our culture, our lifestyle? I think you touched on it when you spoke about the socioeconomic differences and how unfair it can be. But what about our culture, our lifestyle, our environment in this region that contributes so heavily to this problem?
So I can speak from my experience as a an foreign cardiologist who just started, working in the Bahamas, but having the perspective of a few healthcare systems I've worked in. At the end of the day, it's a lot of it is education. A lot of it is education, and of course, education goes with lifestyle. Some things that have really popped out since I came in were the lines to Wendy's, for example. No, I'm just kidding. But
They are making them longer though. All of the fast food places, they've
The
made them so
longest-
longer.
that's true. The longest line in the morning is for Wendy's breakfast. Now, if you look at recommendations, not just the WHO, and everyone with a clear, sound mind would say, this is junk. Sorry. I don't know if I could say that on
You
public.
can. You didn't call her. We're safe.
But ultra processed food is probably the number one killer and number one disease causing factor today. Everyone knows it. All the scientific boards know it, and even today with the new recommendations of the Food and Drug Administration, this is an obvious, and we're still kind of completely dismissing the elephant in the room, and we're still having people make these poor choices because the food industries are, they're very popular, they're very cheap, they're very accessible, they're very affordable. If you feel a craving for something at 10 o'clock at night, you know where you're going, right? You're not going to the supermarket because the supermarket's closed. You're not going to Granny to fix you up, some good old home
Some
cooked
sauce, some late night sauce. food sauce.
There you go. So what are we actually doing to try to counteract that? Because this is causing us. Well, I'm not putting all my all the blame, obviously, because again,
I think we have to also take into consideration autonomy and person's ability to choose.
true.
Because there have been numerous times when 10 o'clock is I'm starving, and I choose to have a cup of tea, as opposed to go into the Wendy's, the McDonald's, the Marco's. All of them are like in walking distance from my house. So, I mean, it's a choice, right?
True.
And I think when you talk about education, I think you have to be educated on the ramifications or the side effects of the choices that you
That's
make.
true.
And I think it's important that we don't just blame the fast food places for their capitalistic purpose, but more so, how do we incite or infuse the notion of choice, and healthy choice rather, to the people who are to our populace? I think that's something that we have to. It's our responsibility. I talk often in our training sessions within Glow about the 99% and the 1%. And the 99% is, sure, we could say it's the fast food places, but that 1% lies within us always. And I think if we are to, learn to take better care of ourselves, we have to be responsible for our 1%.
That's true. I agree. I think what you hit the nail on the head here. I think at the end of the day, it's choices.
Yeah.
And we have the option to make the healthy choices or the more healthier choices. But sometimes some of us need those tools because we can't act in a vacuum. We know that these are harmful for us, but how harmful are they? Is eating one McDonald's a week harmful? Is eating highly processed carbohydrates harmful? Does the fact that I have a genetic predisposition to develop heart disease because my father had his first heart attack at the age of 50, does that come into play somehow? Of course it does. And I have to be probably 1,000 times more cautious about my choices because I will lead myself to develop these things if I'm not, if I'm not making the right choices. It's our job to point the public in the right way.
Yes.
And not just be critical about, the big food industries and the way that they, propagate their
because they're going to do what they're
products.
going to do.
Right.
Right. So looking specifically at the Bahamas, and you all would have been seeing hundreds and hundreds of cases. What patterns are we seeing in patient profiles, and what national or institutional strategies are helping us? Or what strategies do you think we need? We talked about information, we talked about choices and options. I think that's another thing that we need to bring into this conversation. But what patterns are we seeing in patient profiles?
I guess I just want to piggyback on what Dr. Ryan is saying.
Right.
So I guess it just goes back to education, to be honest and truthful. Before I worked at the hospital, I worked at a private physician office. And, young man, I was eating whatever I wanted. I remember going to like a McDonald's. I was getting like 2 sandwiches just for that morning. Because I could. I mean, it's delicious. And then I'll go back lunchtime. I'll probably get a bamboo shack or something like that. The stuff, it tastes good. It makes you feel good about yourself. And I think another part that we're not talking about is the emotional part. When you have some persons who eat just to make themselves feel better. So it's also the emotional part that we look at. But to piggyback on what he's saying as far as the education part. So when I started working for Doctors Hospital, I can't remember, so long. I think it's over a decade now. When I started seeing like obesity, like the main profile inside most of our patients is obesity. And you see that because mother could cook some food. When mother cooked that food, that tastes good. We have wives, when they put that food together, boy, it's nothing like a good plate of food. And when we eat that, we get that feeling that makes us feel so good. But as he explained with the heart, it damages our heart. These high-fat foods, ultra-processed foods, it's damaged our hearts, our organs. It's not getting the oxygen supply that the body needs in order to function optimally. Right. At the same time, we're not exercising the way that we need to be exercising. We're not having a conversation with our nutritionist to tell us what we should be eating and what we should not be eating. I think we were talking about it earlier today about the Food and Drug Administration. The food pyramid was one way. Now it's it's another way.
Upside down.
But when I saw the cases that with obesity inside, and when I started working at Doctors Hospital, we had this guy who came into the hospital. He just recently got married, and he just had a sudden death. He died. He had the same genetic profile as me. I'm slim. I don't consider myself to be obese or anything like that, although the BMI index says something else. But I don't consider myself. But when I saw this guy, and they said he was also a marathon runner. Oh, wow. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. But when I started to take my blood pressure and everything, I see, as he's talking about a genetic profile, which is hypertension, which runs in my family. I saw my blood pressure start to go up. So when I noticed my blood pressure start to go up and I know exactly what happened, I went to the nutritionist. I went to the cardiologist. I went and go on YouTube. Like there's tons and tons of information out there to tell you what you should be eating, how much exercise you should be doing in one day. And once I got a grasp of these things, that's when I noticed all my markers start to improve. And here at Doctors Hospital, we have all of these different avenues that are here to get you to the best optimal care that you need to get to. You just have to come out and speak with us.
What is something you spoke about obesity being something? What is something that surprises you or surprised you? I guess that would be the story there with the gentleman who a marathon runner and still perished, unfortunately. Do we find that that's a thing? Like we see healthier looking or presenting folks who also have a lot of heart kind of issues?
Well, I present it as a case to show that it's not only obesity that person is suffering.
Right.
So what we're trying to implement is I think we're still playing with the name chest pain clinic, rapid response clinic. And he also talked about young people as well. You have a lot of people who go undiagnosed and who go untreated. So we're trying to develop a chest pain clinic. You have some chest pain or something, you could come in right away, get an ECG done. We get an ECG done, get a physician to look at that ECG and then say, well, you would need to do this or you would need or you would need to do that. So I think that is key. We have to try to give everyone access. He talked about the social economic
Applications of it.
applications of it.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make it so everybody, no matter who it is able to access care, especially here at Doctors Hospital.
I love that.
Just again to piggyback, one of the biggest issues is, and I'm sure we'll get to this later in prevention, is no news is good news in most facets of our life. Nobody thinks about anything until something happens. You don't notice how important a ligament is on the bottom of your foot or your toe is until you hurt it.
Oh, yeah.
So the problem is people walk around, they don't worry about what's going on with their body, their heart especially, and there's so many silent killers that we don't pay attention to it until it's too late. Our blood pressure goes up, we don't notice it until there's a crisis. You have a heart problem. It's developed because of those bad choices that you make, but you don't see the problem immediately. It takes time. And sometimes that time we see it, unfortunately, too late. But that's where the issue is. If people would be more inclined towards preventative maintenance and seeing a doctor once a year and just getting the markers checked, then we would know what's going on and probably head a problem off at the pass, so to speak, instead of letting it become something that's urgent or critical, and then you have to see us, unfortunately.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you talk about silent killers, because now I'm worried. When you talk about silent killers, like what would you term like a silent killer?
So, and that these are all really, really important remarks and very, very true. We spoke about the trends, but how would a young 23-year-old realize that has hypertension from that one time he measured his blood pressure with grandma's cuff, having a blood pressure of 210 over 110? And I've seen these cases in clinic before. How do we proceed from there? What is the perception that when we use the term silent condition or silent disease, it's misleading because there's nothing really silent about it. There are signs, very subtle signs and symptoms that might be a hair bringer. A little bit of headaches here and there, some dizziness, some pressure in the chest, patients or people who started working out and feel that little pressure, that little burning sensation in the chest when they're heavy lifting or doing some cardio exercise. Those are all signs that should not be ignored.
They're not gas.
Yes.
You gotta get your tea, man.
That's
You get
right.
your tea.
That's not.
So they're not really silent. They're just quiet. They're very quiet.
Yes, and we need to educate. We need to give the people the tools to realize that okay, there's something wrong. This is not indigestion. This is not gas. This is not I'll drink a soda or drink a glass of milk and this indigestion will go away in the morning. No, because sometimes, unfortunately, we don't have that luxury of time, and people perish from that same misconception. And I can't tell you the frequency, and I can. This is not just counting on both hands and legs. This is numerous times I've seen patients coming in when it's too late, and by too late meaning right now me and the team are just putting out one big fire. But when you put out a fire, you leave a lot of charred area. And that with that charred area, there's not much we can do. So sometimes it's the point of no return, and I have to tell the patient, unfortunately, that he suffers from an incurable condition that I can't really help him. Right. I can't really reverse it. We do not have the tools to reverse. Unfortunately, when we're dealing with heart and blood vessels, there are no spare parts. So we got to take care of what we have.
It's very sobering. Switching just gears is a slight bit.
Share it up.
I don't know. I guess this is good news. Talk to us about the cath lab. We understand that it's just been recently refitted and it's not new, but it has new things in it.
Just for a bit of it, we won't go too deep into the history, but the cath lab has been around in Doctors Hospital since about 1995. So we've been doing open heart surgery and angiograms and angioplasties for the last 30 years. It's been redone. This is the third time. This is a brand new Philips Azurion 5 machine. This version of the machine, it's only the 31st one in the world. So it's a fairly new machine. It is state of the art, and it will allow us with the quality of the images and the ancillary equipment that's connected to the machine to be able to take care of patients faster, to see images better, to have better quality and better outcomes. So it is an amazing machine.
I may have jumped a bit. Tell me what a catheterization lab is.
Well, a cath lab is where a patient goes, whether it's in the diagnostic realm or in the emergency realm, where you would come to assess the quality of the blood vessels of the heart.
Okay.
Now, you can, as Dr. Rand showed earlier, that's structural. You can see the chambers of the heart. You can take a look at the valves. You can take a look at the coronary arteries. But the coronary arteries, it looks at it in a very unique way. We have to use a solution called contrast, what many people refer to as dye. That is a solution that does not allow X-rays to pass through it. So the entire procedure has to be timed. As you inject into the coronary arteries the contrast solution, you take a picture or a movie and you record it while you're injecting, because blood doesn't show up on X-ray. So when we see a tube in the heart that goes from big to small to big, we now know that that is a blockage, or big to nothing. Now you know that's a blockage, because there should be one continuous smooth, like the branches of a tree. It should go from the size of a trunk at the beginning. At the end, it should look like tiny, tiny branches. And if you have a bad blockage, we will see it immediately, and we will know whether we can take care of it right there or you need more care.
So that, like you said, that process has to be done as you inject.
As you
can
inject.
see the flow.
Yeah.
All right. Why is this a big deal for the country? And how will this improve our patient outcomes, positive patient
Well,
outcomes?
as you can imagine, as we said earlier, with the level of heart disease that we carry in this country, we need a facility that is on site, close to an emergency room that you can access immediately when heart disease is diagnosed or when a heart attack is diagnosed. So there's a term, and I'm sure Dr. Rad knows this very well. It's called time is muscle. When it comes to the heart, the longer you wait, the worse it gets, because, like he said as well, there's no spare parts. So if heart muscle dies, it does not regenerate. So you have to open that vessel up as quickly as you can. The industry standard is 90 minutes. That's called door to balloon time. So the minute the patient comes in the door to the ER, to the time the vessel is open, should be within 90 minutes. Right? And that's open whether it's with a stent or with drugs, but it should be done within 90 minutes. So having the new cath lab with the better technology on site will enable us to treat patients a whole lot faster, and I think get better outcomes long term.
Yeah, I'm happy for the new equipment that we have right now. We know that reducing the time between the onset of heart attack and receiving the intervention can be the difference between life and death. Like you said, time is muscle. What strategies are in place across emergency response, triage, cath lab readiness to optimize door to balloon times, like you said?
Well, I'm sure Dr. Rand can expand on it, but from my part of it,
Right.
it involves the training of the entire staff, whether that's the emergency room staff, from the person that sees the patient in admissions, to the emergency room staff, to getting the cardiologist involved as quickly as possible and following established protocols to get the patient to the lab as fast as possible. That's how long it takes to get the ECG done, how long it takes to get the labs done, how long it takes to get the echo done. Like, all those things speed up how quickly Dr. Rand can bring the patient down.
I guess if you want to try to envision what the whole system is about, you can think of it as having a very high-tech fire engine. And we are the fire engine, actually, because we operate in a system where fires break out all the time, constantly.
Right.
But it's reaching those fires, reaching the scene. First responders, the EMS teams, work in sync with us. They'll call me up personally telling me, we're at this 53-year-old patient that's having chest pain. We did a preliminary ECG, which is the same protocol pink paper ECG that we do to see if there's signs of a heart attack. And once from that moment on, once I get the image or the explanation that there might be a very highly suspicious patient with a heart attack, we operate the system. The system is activated. From that point on, that's what I call the point of I would say no return, but it has to be on kind of autopilot.
Right.
Once I've noticed that we're dealing with heart attack, I notify the team. We get the team together. This is done in minutes, so we really don't have time to waste because we're still talking very high mortality. People, we have to understand that people still die, and in a significant number from heart attacks that are undiagnosed, that are neglected, that don't have proper access to care. And here, this is a unique environment where not only we have the best equipment, because it is the best equipment that is offered today, but we also have all the expertise needed to get the patient from A to Z and get them home in a few days. This is how good we are with the equipment and the trained personnel that we have. So we diagnose the heart attack, we get the team ready, we get the patient safely into the cath lab, which is basically a very high-tech fire engine that uses special techniques to open up that blockage. And always when people ask me, what do I do? I say, I'm a plumber. We deal with plumbing.
Yep.
There's a blockage in that plumbing system, and we go in and open it. But if we don't open it, then unfortunately, lives. Yeah.
So the new cath lab features some of the most advanced equipment. I think you kind of outlined that earlier. What types of technologies will be available in the cath lab, and how is it going to elevate our quality of care within the doctor's hospital healthcare system?
Well, the new system not only has the ability to have better quality of images as cath labs have gotten more and more technically advanced, the image quality has gotten better, but there are things that help you diagnose and understand the level of disease that are involved in newer machines. You have 3D mapping, you have intravascular ultrasound, you have something a bit technical called FFR, fractional flow reserve. Don't worry about it. But
you got to explain that.
Yeah.
This is a learning hospital.
But all of those things are involved in getting better outcomes and are available at the fingertips of the cardiologist when he or she is doing the procedure.
Listen, man, these fellas are talking a lot of fancy words and a lot of fancy things. Let me talk to my BMA. Everybody understand Doctor's Hospital is a one-stop shop. Whatever you need, whatever is happening to you medically, you have chest pain, like Dr. Eliaz said, we could get you from A to Z all in one place. You don't have to go to this place, then go to that place, then come back and go to this place. You come to us, we get you sorted out, and it's all done at an affordable price.
Run it again. I'm kidding.
Like you'd be surprised that we have most our prices are cheaper than most of the competition. You'll be surprised.
And this is the best equipment.
The best equipment that you could buy right now. And the best staff.
Because I wanted to talk about training and what that looks like for everybody who's going to be engaging with this new high-tech equipment. Like, what does training look like?
Well, training is at the heart of what we do, because before we even think about putting a patient on a table and doing a procedure like this goes through so many different stages of not just the actual training, but acknowledgement. What is my role? What is my job? What am I actually going to be facing? And a lot of people are not aware of that because, you think, oh, yeah, great. We have this great equipment. We put the patient on the table. The equipment takes care of everything. I don't need to do anything. Well, I wish that I didn't have to go to school for 20 years just to learn how to put that little wire inside. But that's not the case, obviously. It's not the case. And this has to do because our unique environment is a team. We're a team. We're one organism. My eyes and hands are everyone's eyes and hands. So we're all, everyone has his job, but we're all also taking care of each other. We all have, and as time goes by, that organic team knows exactly where are those areas of overlap that we need to be, communicating and taking a closer look at. So to get a patient safely through this procedure is first of all knowing what the procedure is, what what are we dealing with, what equipment we have to offer the solution,
Mhm.
operating that equipment, and by equipment I mean there's a lot of what we call perishable, a lot of we're done with the equipment, we it goes to the garbage, but there are also a lot of equipment that is non-perishable equipment that we need to know how to use, like ECGs, echo machines, and stuff like that that need to be maintained, obviously. But then also performing the procedure, uh, what are the little nuance? What do we need to be aware of? What's going to happen to the patient? Because taking a patient down, we need to explain to the patient as well.
Yes.
You're going for a procedure that's going to save your life, but you also have a risk, unfortunately, of complications. We have to be very clear about this because the rationale says that you're doing a procedure that, even though has risks, the benefits outweigh those risks. And that's true for anything we do in medicine, obviously. And my team knows exactly what to expect, what the explanations the patient's going to get, what complications might be, and what is the recovery trajectory for these patients just based on the procedure we did. And of course, probably the most important thing is troubleshooting. What
Right.
happens when things go south?
Right. Right. How big is the team, would you say? Like how many people and what are the other, I guess, health professionals who are involved in this team? I think this information is useful for persons who are trying to decide careers. My BTTF students, how how many people are at any given time a part of this team, and what are their roles?
Right.
I
So
we have you, Ronaldo, and Mr. Robert. But what is the roles, the different roles?
I think these gentlemen can definitely explain more about this than
Yes.
me. Yeah.
I'll start, I guess.
Virgin Bar.
Yeah. So for my part of it, any good functioning cath lab team has nurses that are critically care trained, that work in the cath lab. That's the patient care part of it. That need to be able, as Dr. Rand said, to jump on any emergency. And that's including advanced cardiac life support training. That's very important because, as he said, it can go south really quickly. You have to have cardiovascular technologists, people that assist the cardiologist during the surgery. You can have radiography technologists that work in the cath lab. You can have ECG technicians that work in the cath lab. You also have one part I didn't say earlier. There's another thing that we do. We put in pacemakers in the cath lab as well.
Okay.
And I'm mostly responsible for managing the pacemaker component of everything. That's the other part that we didn't get to. In managing the care after the pacemaker is put in interrogation and maintenance of the pacemaker. So you can have people like that come into the cath lab. You can have echo techs that come into the cath lab. So there's a lot of staff that are involved in the hospital that can function in a cath lab. But as Dr. Rand said, everybody has to be trained in that particular environment, what the roles are, how to deal with emergencies, and that takes time. A lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Simulation.
Synergy and
Yeah.
Experience.
Yeah, experience.
Yeah.
Different persons all over the place. Because I know I guess on the end of it, I know that we have rehab professionals who they're not in the cath lab, but they do cardiac rehab as well, which
That's
is
important as well.
so
Right.
important to the work. I'm shouting out my rehab people. How do we balance investment in advanced interventions with upstream prevention, such as blood pressure control, nutrition, exercise, lifestyle changes, all of that? We're talking about reacting to the cardiac emergency, but people don't just have heart disease in one day. So how does it? What is the? How does it happen in terms of heart disease? Like, what needs to? What is the full? Because from what I've heard so far, it seems like this is a very holistic um, consideration that we have to take up with our lives and the things that we do, the things that we eat, the way that we party, the way that we rest, if we rest at all, stress, all of these things. What apart from that, because we know that if you have the issue, you can come to us at Doctor's Hospital. But what should we be doing in those areas?
I think maybe first and furthermost is realizing that heart attack, heart failure, anything that has to do with heart dysfunction is probably a signal that the horses have left the stable. This is a train that has passed its stop, obviously, and we don't want to be there. We want to be way ahead of that in prevention. I'm not just we're not just talking here amongst us. We're obviously talking to the people, but we're aiming for those young people that think that okay, I'll have my fair share of partying, I'll have my fair share of poor, dietary choices and stuff like that, and once I hit 40, then I'll straighten my act and then go get checked and do all that stuff. Nope, that's not the case, unfortunately. These things add up. So we start developing coronary disease or plaque, atherosclerotic plaque, which is the same process that has to do with cholesterol and all those good things that you hear about. We start developing it from the day we are born. Now, that process will be, I don't know, times accelerated by the choices we make and how we grow up, and even the way our parents, feed us, educate us, engage us in sports and other things like that. And our knowledge about genetics, many people, I would ask if there's any heart disease in the family, they do not know the answer to that. It's not because they don't they don't know what heart disease is. It's just because no one has ever taken the time to explain and kind of pay attention to those important aspects of our lives. It's just kind of like, okay, life, school, work, career, and there's a lot of in between.
Right.
I think what we need to be focusing on definitely is all those things that have to do with preventing. And prevention has to do with everything, pretty much. The minute we wake up in the morning, the coffee we drink, the cigarette we smoke, if we're smokers, and what our family heritage has to say about different diseases that run in the family. And I guess you guys can elaborate more of that aspect. But I think at the end of the day, we need to be that that safe haven, that place where people come to get reassurance, first of all, and education and knowledge.
Yeah. We want to touch on the collective.
Just
What we need to be doing.
just to add on it, I think Antoine was saying this earlier. Once a year, just get your annual physical. You get your annual physical. They do blood works. When you see the internist, they can advise you to, if you need to see the cardiologist, if you need to see another physician, maybe just need to see a nutritionist. So they'll advise you what you need to do. They might say, hey, you have a full bill of health. You can do whatever you want to do. So I would say that's the first place to start. I would say get your annual check every year.
So I like to, in all of the podcasts that we've done last year and then this one being the first, I always go back to awareness. I think it's so important that we remain
That's the
aware
main word.
of our everything.
Yes.
Blissful ignorance is detrimental.
And take ownership.
Yeah.
Take ownership of your health.
Accountability.
It's up to you. You can be as healthy as you want to be. When you don't want to get up in the morning and go and exercise, when you don't want to eat that healthy meal, it's all a personal choice. You can control this, and it is entirely preventable.
What opportunities have anybody can answer this that exist for the Bahamas to collaborate with other Caribbean nations to strengthen cardiac care? I imagine our diets will similar. They're not entirely the same. But are there any collaborative efforts Caribbean wide that we could that we know of? I know. I mean, just on the onset, I just feel like we should have a think tank about these sorts of things, and how do we best prevent and how do we intervene from a regional standpoint.
I would think the place, there's a Caribbean Cardiac Society that has a meeting every year, and I'm sure these are the type of things that they discuss.
Yeah.
So I would say that is probably ongoing, and I'm sure that we could find data, and we could probably put it up on the website and let people know exactly what's going on in the Caribbean as a whole.
Yeah. I know that we talked about the warning signs. We talked about the quiet warning signs. Are there any loud ones?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very
Oh,
loud. Very, very loud ones. Yes. The quiet symptoms are probably the most ignored and not sought after. But the noisy, usually the noisy symptoms are the ones that get the patients in the hospital, will get the people in the clinic. The typical pressure they'll feel in the chest, sometimes radiating to the jaw, sometimes radiating to the left or right shoulders. We're all very different in the way we perceive pain. Women are different than men. Elderly patients are different than young patients, obviously. But it doesn't really matter what the patient, which category he or she belongs to. I think the typical signs of heart conditions that should not be ignored are probably what I call the red flags. The sense of dread, the sense of pressure on the chest that usually might occur in relation to some exertion or some physical or mental overwhelming experience. The sweating, which is a very typical, very refined, very typical. The cold sweat, very refined symptom of something that's very, very bad that's happening. Shortness of breath that might happen. That radiation of that pain. I wouldn't look into other symptoms like swelling of the legs and having shortness of breath when you're lying down, because those are later, very late symptoms.
Yeah.
The very early symptoms that even young people might experience are those same red flags that I was talking about. Sometimes with palpitations, that feeling that the heart is beating very fast in the chest in response. It could be in response to a very simple task that we do. Those are things to definitely be aware of.
Now, I know we have about 7 or 5 more minutes on the clock, but I wanted to ask this question because I think this is crucial. How can one tell if they're having a heart attack?
So what I tell my patients and what my message to the people would be, if there's any doubt, go get checked. And I'm very firm on that. If you have any doubt, you will never hear a patient that had a heart attack saying, it was a shame I went to see my doctor, or I shouldn't have gone and have that ECG done, or it was just a waste of time for me to sit in that ER. No, you never hear that story, because when in doubt, you should always get checked. If there are any alarming signs and symptoms, definitely the red flags, go get checked. Consult with someone. Doesn't have to be ER, doesn't have to be the hospital. It could be an outpatient clinic. It could be a friend who's a physician. And I get a lot of questions from my friends, which some of them, unfortunately, don't really lead a healthy lifestyle.
You should defer.
When I have friends that I'm concerned about, I'll just tell them, okay, come. Why don't you come with me out for a run?
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be a good. That'll be a good. And if something happens, then happen when I'm around.
With you. So I think as we wrap up, I just want to ask for someone who wants to be proactive about their heart health, what tests or screening should they consider? I know you spoke about it earlier. And how early should people begin checking their cardiovascular risk? I know you said that we've been developing
Atherosclerosis
from
birth.
From birth.
Day one.
I'm just like, we're doomed, but not really. But not really. Because I think we have the help and we have the care and we have the equipment and we have the training and we have the personnel at Doctors Hospital to get that done. But if this is somebody who wants to be proactive, what would you advise them to do? You can actually look directly into that camera because I think that's how we want to talk directly to the people for us.
So first, make sure you know what healthy choices look like. So it can start with nutrition, making that healthy choice, eating that healthy meal, looking online and see what recommendations really, the refined recommendations that are there out there to lead a healthy nutritional lifestyle. Then we speak about lifestyle, we speak about an active lifestyle. You don't need much. And this is what I tell all my patients who I see in clinic. Give me 30 minutes a day of brisk walking, bicycle riding, swimming, weight exercises, high intensity exercises, which are very beneficial for our heart health. This is all we need. It's a start, but this is all we need to begin with on a journey to help our heart be more efficient, be more healthy, basically. Look into your family history. Make sure that, when we speak about heart disease, grandpa died in his 50s, but no one really knows. But maybe ask grandma if she's still around. Was he having chest pain? Did he ever have a procedure on the heart? Is there anyone in the family, God forbid, that died at a young age from unexplained causes that might be a signal that there might have been heart disease in the family which was not diagnosed? And for women, and this is maybe a very important issue, go consult, speak with your general physician, speak with your friends. If you're having feelings of chest pain, if you're having shortness of breath, not ignore it. Doesn't really matter what age you are in. We know that women are undiagnosed, they're diagnosed late, and they suffer from a very unique form of coronary or vascular disease called microvascular disease, which is very hard to diagnose, but the symptoms are very similar. So I guess these are probably some of the pointers I would have.
Gentlemen, this has been a very enlightening conversation. One that, in my age, is sparking me to see you all very soon. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for the insight and the depth of knowledge that you have imparted on me, my producer, and also the public who's going to be listening. So I think as we close, Heart Month is in February of this year. It's in February of every year. So pay attention to all of the activities and all of the events and all of the outreach efforts that we within the Doctors Hospital healthcare space are going to be bringing forward to recognize the importance of the heart. So on behalf of these gentlemen here, thank you again so much.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. Our producer, Gali. My name is Eddie, the Learning and Development Specialist and Supervisor for GLOW. Thank you so much for being here and stay tuned with us. And remember, at Doctors Hospital, we deliver the best care now.
Good health starts with easy access, and that's what LAMP gives you. Affordable, reliable entry to high-quality care designed to help you stay well. With LAMP, your health journey is simplified, from routine labs and imaging to pharmacy services, urgent care, and beyond, all within the Doctors Hospital health system. With plans starting at just $1.30 per day, LAMP is your guide to wellness and peace of mind for you and your family. Visit lamp.doctorshos.com to learn more.